Hey, what is up, everybody? I am here to give you a movie review. I know it's like midnight right now, but I finished watching the movie a few hours ago. I couldn't really review the movie because I was doing something else. Um, and I ended up watching this movie with my aunt. It's called The Last House Cemetery Lane. It's called The Last House on Cemetery Lane. Excuse me. Um, and yeah, this is the movie right here. I got this on my birthday. Is the back. I'm gonna read the back to you. It says The Shining meets Insidious. It says screenwriter John Davis has grown tired of living in London and moves to an old manor house in a sleepy West Wales village to get out of the rat race. At first, he enjoys himself, embracing the quieter pace of life and starting a relationship with his beautiful neighbor, Cassie Conrad. But strange, unexplained occurrences begin to occur in the manor house. John discovers he is surrounded by a supernatural presence and begins to research the house's past, discovering secrets more terrible than he ever imagined. It is now up to John to right the injustices of the past and finally lay to rest the spirits which haunt the last house on Cemetery Lane. Alright, so and the back looks pretty much the same. Because it comes out like this when you take it out. So now that I've gone through that, let me talk about the movie itself. The movie was written by Andrew Jones. It came out in 2015, so it came out this year. Which I think is weird that they didn't play any trailers for it or anything. I thought I would see something for it, but I guess not. Yeah. This movie, I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hated it. It was just shit. I'm gonna tell you why it was shit, but let me talk about the story behind it. That was one of the reasons why it was shit. I didn't really care about the story. So we meet this new guy. We meet this guy, John Davies, and he's moving into the house. And we find out, and he was with the landlady, and we find out the reason that he's moving into the house is because and everybody in this movie, by the way, I want to mention, is from the United Kingdom, pretty much. They're from the UK, because they all have English accents. That doesn't bother me. I thought that was fine. But yeah, we find out he's there because he's a writer. He writes horror movies. I think it's kind of weird that he writes horror movies and he's in a shitty horror movie. Isn't that funny? And he wants a place quiet to himself, so he moves into this place because we find out later on in the film. I'm just gonna talk about this now that he lives in London, and that's like a big city down there. And he wanted to get away from all that noise so he can be down here. And the landlady's showing him around. We find out there's an attic, and apparently on the ads it says that nobody else lives in this house. But then the landlady tells him that there's a tenant there. A tenant's like somebody that rents the place, and her name's Angus, I believe her name is, and she's blind, and she stares outside the window and never comes out of the house and doesn't answer anybody. And obviously, John was mad about that, but I guess he didn't really care afterwards. We find out he's going to be staying there for 8 weeks. We don't find that out in this scene, but we find it out later on, like I said. And he's told to leave the keys, like, in the plant, when he leaves. So then, it just shows on this montage of him by himself, and he's on, like, the beach, and he finds a beer bottle that says, "Found Me," inside of it, and he just tosses it. And then, what happens next? He's in, like, a tree house, and he meets, Cassie. He meets Cassie. You know, tells him why he's there. Says that if you ever want to borrow, they can start flirting with each other. Because she was like making a pie because she was picking like berries for it. Cassie looked pretty hot, I guess. And he says anytime you want to borrow sugar, you can just stop by. So then, at nighttime, John's going to bed, and he has a nightmare. And the nightmare is about him. He is having this nightmare that somebody's drowning him, and there's the words "murder" on the written on the bathroom wall and all that. I thought that was okay, I guess. And then he wakes up and there's this record player that just is playing at night, and he turns it off. So remember that. Remember this, because just remember that I said that. The reason why I'm saying this is because it's important. I'm not saying it to talk about useless shit. So then the next day, he pretty much says everything that I've just said, that he's staying there for 8 weeks. He talks about Angus. He talks because Cassie came over his house and talked about everything that happened, and he says that and then later on he asks her out on a date. Pretty much, we find out he doesn't like to go to pubs, which is what they call bars in England, so he just offers to have him stay at his house. Oh boy. So then they have the date. He tells him about himself, says that his parents were cool. They didn't really give much of the authority, but they let him take his own path. Found his parents passed away when he was about 4 years old, I think he says. Or 4 years ago, I don't really remember. I don't really care enough to look it up. And we find out that that his parents had been together for a while. We found out that he used to come here a lot as a kid, and go play on the arcade and all that. So then we find out Cassie wasn't like a rebel. She was a good girl. She did everything that she was supposed to do. She was just scared of her parents. So then they kiss. He asked her to stay, but she didn't really want to rush into anything, because she doesn't. We find out later on that she doesn't want him to think that she's a slut. Yippee. Alright, so then what happens next? Then the record player, he's sleeping again, and throughout he is writing a story and all that, and the record player plays again, and he just puts the record away this time. And then he has another nightmare of people are just yanking his teeth out. And John tells Cassie about this. And she says, because then it gets weirder. When he goes to stop the record player a second time, we just see like this ghost puts it back the way it is, and then he's in the bathroom, and the words "murder" are written on the wall like his dream, and he gets locked in the bathroom, and we see somebody's behind him, but nothing happens to him. He always worked naked, by the way, in this. He was always like naked. He was either naked or he's like in his underpants. It was really weird. And he does try to talk to Angus later on, but then he looks through the hole and Angus is just looking through him, and this creeps him out. And then, he tries to call the landlady about it. She doesn't know everything that he's pretty much telling her, because things get moved around too. There's this doll that keeps getting moved around. There's this music box that keeps getting open. Pictures are getting knocked down. Pretty much all that. So, so the landlady just thinks, that, he's just trying to find inspiration for his horror film. So then, Cassie had suggested he gets a Ouija board, which he does, and he's playing by himself. Now, if you don't know the rules of Ouija board, you have to greet the person, you have to say goodbye when you're done, and another major rule is you're not supposed to play by yourself, so I thought this was terrible. Apparently, he doesn't know the rules. So he's asking the spirits these questions. We find out pretty much that Angus is the murderer. Talks about the doll, and that is the murderers. Um, and then he goes to confront Angus. Angus tells him that years ago she lived here with her husband William and her daughter Catherine, and they lived a beautiful life. But then the father passed away, so Catherine pretty much went crazy. She made a friend that she ended up, and then they got a fight about a boy. So then she threw her down the stairs, and she broke her neck and died instantly. And Cassie kept it a secret from the police. So then I think she so then she the faith of angels or something took away what's like the devil, people who like were in heaven but then got sent to hell, took away her sight to see, and she prays to God to save her every day. um and then we find out that the girl that was murdered was Cassie, and John just can't believe it. And we find out that her body's like kept in the house somewhere. I don't even remember. So then Catherine, we find out it's actually the landlady. So then Catherine puts Angus to bed. She apologizes for saying it, but then she says it's okay. And she said he would have found out anyways. And then she smothers her with Catherine smothers Angus with the pillow. And then she grabs the axe, which I don't know why fucking John put the axe down anyways. And she starts going after John, and the way that the chase scene happened I thought was okay, but I thought the camera work was pretty terrible. Not gonna lie, I thought the camera work was just god-awful. And he gets chopped in the leg, and then eventually, he, tries to hide under the bed, which you would think if you write horror stories, that's like the worst possible place you would hide, because that's where people hide, and that's where they always find them. Oh my gosh. So then he comes out, Catherine sees him. I think he like tripped her or something. I don't remember. I don't care enough to really talk about it. And he's gonna chop her head off, but he can't bring himself to do it. Then eventually she gets up. He hits her in the axe, hits her in the stomach with the axe, and then he goes downstairs to see the corpse. And Cassie apologizes for not saying anything. There's a bunch of drama, talks about how he loves you, and then you have to set me free. So then she gets called up to like heaven or something. So then John leaves the house, and he plays the same song that was playing on the record player. And then eventually somebody else shows up at the house, and Cassie and Angus are just there now. So now the same thing's gonna start happening to this other guy, and that's how the movie ended. Oh my gosh. Like I said, this movie was absolute shit. I absolutely hated this movie. I don't even think it even made it to theaters, and I'm not surprised by that, but oh my gosh, like this movie was absolute shit. I don't even know who would like this movie. It's not scary. It certainly isn't scary. Nothing at all happens in this movie. Like I was like in the beginning, I can understand that, but nothing really happens at all. Not even any jump scares. Nothing. It's not this. It's not. It's just not good. The camera work I think is pretty terrible in this movie. From time to time, there were points where John will say something, and you could have your TV at full volume, and you couldn't even hear what the guy is saying. Believe me, because there were points where I couldn't even hear what he was saying. What else does it's pretty terrible? Maybe that the movie's 2 hours long. It'd be one thing if it was like an hour. Let me look on the back. I think it's 2 hours long. Yeah, it's 2 hours, 35 minutes, and 1 second. That's way too... This movie's way too long. It'd be one thing if the movie was good, but the movie's not even good. So, it just, you know... it felt like it was longer than 2 hours. It dragged on, and nothing was happening, so it was boring. I don't know, it just sucks. There's nothing good about it. So that's pretty much it for my review of this shitty movie. Leave your thoughts in the comments if you want to give your thoughts on the movie. If you like the movie, then I don't know what to say. I understand everybody has an opinion about stuff, but I just don't get I just don't see the appeal in this movie. The only appeal, there's not even any good scenes I can point out. I don't know. I don't mind the talking. Maybe I don't know. But that's pretty much it, guys. You can subscribe to my channel if you want. Um, I highly suggest you do because I make a lot of content on this channel. And I'll be back at some point during the week to give you a new video at some point. So that's pretty much it, guys. See you later.